All right, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo calling today's events a lone wolf attack. We're going to tell you why one expert says lone wolves don't really exist. That's coming up. Right now, officials are saying today's attack is the work of a, quote, lone wolf. But my next guest doesn't believe that's actually an accurate term for how this all comes about. Raheem Kassam is a senior fellow at the Gatestone Institute and has quite an incredible personal story that's led you to this place. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I know that you think this idea of a lone wolf, the concept, we may be off with that. How so?
Yeah, I think it's fundamentally a misinterpretation of what goes on when these people are radicalized and they find themselves in the sort of behest of radical Islam. These are people who are led here by something, some way, shape or form, and whether that is by attending a mosque, whether that is by speaking to a local imam, whether that is being referred to a particular interpretation of the Quran or Hadith. These people don't find that themselves traditionally, and we have to start looking at where this person went to the mosque, who this person was affiliated with, who his friends were, what they were asking of him. The lone wolf thing is a cop-out. It's a major cop-out, and it's a cop-out, by the way, which our political establishment uses, which, by the way, in a Europe of 2017, where we've had 43 Islamist-inspired or Islamic radicalism-inspired terror attacks or attempted terror attacks, they use this as kind of a way to say, oh, well, you know, we don't have to have a broader conversation about what's in these texts and what these imams are preaching at these Saudi-funded mosques. Fundamentally, what they're saying is we want to wash our hands of it. We don't want to have to deal with this. But actually, that's the best way. If we look at, do you want to bring the Muslim community on board with this, and do you want to make people feel safe in their communities? That's the best conversation to have.
We talked a little bit about in the commercial break how this is very sensitive, because when you talk to people about going back to the imams, looking at their sermons or what they're preaching or what they're saying, or going into someone's mosque, that's a really volatile idea for a lot of people. They think that it's insulting. I know that you think that there are, in some ways, that people in this country are exploiting our love of the freedom of religion and hiding behind that. So where is that balance between privacy, civil liberties, that kind of thing, and religious freedom?
America is a unique place. You know, Americans often forget this. You're the only country in the world who has established the freedom of speech in a First Amendment, the freedom to defend yourself in the Second Amendment, and therefore we think that you know, the tiniest sliver of asking questions in these directions is an attack on those things. It doesn't need to be the case. You see, Islam is not just a religion. It's also a political philosophy. It's a political ideology, and it doesn't offend to ask these questions. I was raised in a Muslim family, and it doesn't offend me, nor does it offend anybody around me that I grew up with, to ask those questions. Actually, what we're doing by not asking these questions is helping the fundamentalists and the literalists, who, by the way, target people, moderates in the Muslim communities around the Western world, who don't want to abide by Sharia law. What we do is we enable and encourage the fundamentalists if we don't ask those questions. By the way, those questions are relatively easily dealt with. They're dealt with in the way that you say, Islam needs a reformation. It needs a reformation much like Christianity had a reformation. It needs a reformation much like many Jews in the Western world don't necessarily want to subscribe to every single element of the Old Testament. But we haven't done that with Islam. It's like we deal with it with kid gloves. And, you know, this is just the next incident. But this is just another incident that proves that if we are going to deal with this issue, we have to be big, grown up, strong about it.
And have difficult conversations.
Difficult conversations.
Raheem Kassam, thank you for coming on and giving us your perspective. Good to see you. All right, we're going to get to late breaking developments from New York next. Stick around.